Hello and welcome to the latest Manufacturing Management Ask the Expert session, where we get to know some of the leading suppliers to the UK manufacturing sector. My name is Chris Beck. I'm the editor of Manufacturing Management. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Keith Tilley, CEO of Intoware, a Nottingham-based supplier of digital process management software. Keith, welcome. For those who maybe haven't come across Intoware in the past, could you start with a quick introduction to the company and maybe a bit of background to yourself as well?
No problem at all, Chris. And first of all, thanks for inviting me along. I really appreciate it. I mean, as you said, we're a Nottingham-based and born company, software as a service provider. So we've been around for about 5 years, selling our software as a service. I'll describe a little bit more about that in a minute. We're still pretty much a startup company, but we've been selling to a number of companies across a variety of industries, manufacturing being one of the key ones, but we also sell in oil and gas, utility, construction and infrastructure. But we find manufacturing is one of the areas where the tool that we have does help productivity in a number of other areas as well. So, as I say, we've been going about 5 years. We have customers on our books such as Bayer, BP, Petrofac, and a number of others, Network Rail being one of our latest ones as well. So that's kind of the history of the company. All of our developers were based in the office. They're now spread across the country due to the pandemic, but obviously it doesn't stop them doing their work. So it's exciting times for us because we're seeing a lot of growth. A lot of movement in manufacturing and the other areas I've talked about because of what's been happening out there in the market, because of what's been going on with the pandemic and the need for the connected worker, the remote worker, to be more empowered to do their job. And I think that's what we're here to do, is to help that, take away that paper-based process, put in a workflow, but also enhance that so that there's a lot of data that businesses can extract from and make a great deal of use of.
Absolutely, yeah, thanks. The eagle-eyed amongst the people watching will have noticed the word WorkfloPlus just over your right shoulder. Can we talk a little bit about WorkfloPlus, what it is, and especially the kind of benefit it has for manufacturers?
I think the simplest way of talking about it is to kind of describe what it does. As I say, we're here to eliminate paper and to get extra benefits out of that, and do that in a mobile manner so that people, the connected worker, can become more of a digital worker. And by that, what I mean is when you have a paper-based process, then usually you're following some kind of checklist. You can almost imagine it like the old clipboard and going around and doing things. With a digital workflow, you're breaking it down into the steps so that you can see how each one takes, and you can also get particular actions to happen as a result of that. So imagine that you've got a manufacturing line that needs to have maintenance, or one that's been installed. There's certain processes you have to follow. So by having it as a digital workflow, you can use mobile devices, whether that be tablets, whether that be mobile phones. If it's a particular type of environment, you may want to go to wearables, and our software, WorkfloPlus, works on wearables as well. So that'll be head mounted so that you can use both of your hands at the same time. So you're creating this ability for the digital worker now to be able to follow a process. And because it's a set process, it means that you can see how they follow each of those steps. It also means that if you need to make a change to that process, so something changes, you want the inspection to go in a different way, then you can make that change and it'll instantly be sent out to the people who are doing the process. So there's no worry about are they working to the right set of paperwork, they are working to the right process. So that ability of eliminating that paper at the front gives that benefit to be able to make sure change happens very quickly. The other benefit it gives, because you're recording the data as you go along, and again, that could be through a tablet, so that could be that you're checking or typing. It could be through a wearable, so you're actually doing speech entry. So again, if you need both hands for the particular task, you can actually do speech entry to go through the process, but also capture the data. But the great thing about that then is that instead of having to take that paper and do something with it, such as scan it, or even retype some of the things you put into somewhere else, it's automatically there. The report is created as you go along. And what you can also do with that report is you can send it or parts of it to different places. So again, if you imagine I'm doing some maintenance, I've taken the production line down to do the maintenance. I need to do some health and safety checks at the beginning to make sure that the plant I'm about to work on is in a good state for me to safely work on. You could have those health and safety processes at the front of there. You can make sure that they're followed properly. You have a full audit of it. You can even get them to take photos or videos to prove that they've turned the various switch, put some safety equipment on place, etc. And that part of the report could be sent across to health and safety. So they've got a full audit of that. So it gives a lot of power to that end user, that end customer, the digital worker, to capture the data more easily and make sure that from a business perspective, you're following those procedures to the letter. I think it's also, I'll come on to the manufacturing in particular, but it's also important for any industry where currently, an aging workforce, as we know, myself included, is being replaced, is how do you train those people and make sure they've got that knowledge that has been ingrained by those other people? Well, if they're working to the procedures that were designed by those people, then they're following the procedures need to be happening. So it improves in training in a way that you can't do through a manual way of doing it. I think the other thing is that it works with other products. So a remote expert, for instance. So again, if you're doing an assembly and you're following the processes, but something doesn't look quite right, you can halt the workflow. You can make a call, whether it's on your mobile phone, tablet, or whether it's on your wearable, and you can pull in an expert. So I could be doing something, and then I think I'm stuck here, and I could dial you, Chris, who could be somewhere else. You can see what I'm seeing. You can advise me on what to do. I can make the action that you recommend, and I can go back to the workflow. It also makes you more productive, because instead of you having to drive down the motorway to come and help me, you can do it from a central location, which means you can help other people. So it becomes very easily usable from that point of view. So for the end user, we're trying to use technology that they use in everyday life, certainly when it comes to tablets and also phones. The wearable devices are really just a tablet or a mobile phone on your head that you can use as speech. So that's fairly easy to get used to. But also for the businesses, the ability to quickly create workflows is also essential. So we have an editor. We have a Windows-based editor that's very easy to use, so you can create workflows very quickly. We're about to launch a web editor as well, so you can have it in two different ways. When you combine those two solutions together, it becomes very, very powerful from that point of view. And that data that's captured can then be used for other decision-making processes. So as an example, because instead of having a tick list that simply says that Keith followed these 5 things, you now know how long it took me to follow those 5 things. You've also got evidence, if you want it gathered, of what I saw, what I did in that perspective. And that means that with that kind of analysis, you can start to see things like if a maintenance program has a particular step that starts taking longer, it could be an indication that something needs to be replaced. So it becomes more predictive. And obviously talking specifically about manufacturing, when you look at how manufacturers want to increase their throughput, then the ability to have a more knowledge of how do I keep that particular line running, because obviously I have to take it down for maintenance, or I have to take it down for cleaning. We have a pharmaceutical company who manufactures tablets. They have to regularly clean the machine. They have to follow a set process. They need to know that it will take a certain amount of time. By having a workflow digitalized, using the technology, they can do a guarantee this will only take X minutes in between each clean. So therefore, they can maximize the amount of time that that plant is going, that particular energy that's going into that tablet making to get those tablets out. So that's very much a manufacturing type productivity improvement. It obviously reduces costs. If I have to type in a report and suddenly I don't even have to type it in, I've saved 100% of that time. If I don't have to print paper, if I don't have to get things going across and distributing those changes, I can do it instantaneously, then it's got a significant reduction on cost. I think 2 other things when as I say, we sell to manufacturers, we sell to others, but when I see manufacturers, they're looking at how do I reduce costs? How do I increase manufacturing throughput, productivity? How do I improve my quality, compliance, and mitigate risk? Because some of this is done in an environment that is hazardous and has to be followed correctly. Again, by showing that you can follow the right process, by having that audit trail, then you do improve the compliance and mitigation of risk, but you also improve the quality because you can make sure everything's done in the right way. And I think the other thing for manufacturers definitely would be, with the data you're getting, it's going to help that decision-making process. A lot of people talk about data being the new oil and data-driven decisions. I'm not sure I agree with the word data-driven. I think it's more data-informed. If you can collect the data in the right manner and the right granularity, then it allows the business managers or individuals to make decisions informed from that data. And I think that's very important for manufacturers as well as some of the other industries I talked about, because as I say, if you can see the data and say, hang on a minute, I clearly need to train these people in a way that enhances the health and safety or enhances the productivity, or I can start seeing some prediction of when failures are going to occur so that I can take the line down in a controlled way rather than in a forced way. Then I'm going to find a better way of doing things that will improve that. And for manufacturers, if I look at the use cases we have for WorkfloPlus, you have inspections and quality control, maintenance and repairs, assembly and installation, training and upskill, which I've just talked about, and health and safety. I think it's easy to show a measurable return in investment from WorkfloPlus in a very short period of time.
Yeah, it sounds. It sounds very useful for manufacturers, especially those who are looking to kind of begin their move into data analysis and kind of understanding, using technology a bit more. And you spoke at the very beginning about the way that the workforce has changed and the way that we all work, whatever sector we're in. Obviously, some of your guys are now working from home. We've all been disrupted over the last couple of years. Do you see that trend continuing, and what impact will that have on both Intoware and I suppose WorkfloPlus? I mean, you spoke a little bit there about the developments coming up with the web editor coming up soon. What other developments and what else can people look out for with WorkfloPlus?
Yeah, yes, Chris. I think there's a few things I can pick up there. I think one of the things that you mentioned about the market, how it's changed for us, clearly as a software company, some of the things we can do are different to a manufacturer. You can't work from home if you're working on a production line. You have to be in there. But digitalization can help make that place a safer environment, a more productive environment, and it can really empower the people, right, to do things that they couldn't do before. And then other parts of the organization can take advantage of that. So the developments we're doing on WorkfloPlus is all about, WorkfloPlus is available today, it's beneficial today, we can prove that. But as a software, it's constantly evolving. So our next release is, internally it's called 3.0, but the main difference there is we're opening up to a web version. Traditionally, we've been very Android and OS based, although we've got a Windows editor. Now by going web version, we can open that up across all platforms. So the development we're doing is keeping those customers firmly in mind from a point of view of it needs to be flexible and it needs to work to their needs. So WorkfloPlus 3.0, and we've already got 3.1 and 3.2 planned, because each time it'll add different features to it as it goes through there, but it's all about making better collaborative working. So improving the options for structuring the work, managing teams, creating schedules, and introducing ways that you can extract more out of the data. I want, obviously, to see WorkfloPlus as being developed to the point where it is the digital workflow solution of choice for manufacturers. And I think that certainly when we see people take it, have a demonstration of it, it becomes easier in their mind as to how they see the benefit of it. And then we can assist them with that rollout. I think the wonderful thing about the software is that, as I say, it gives you advantages now, right in day one, and it will give you more advantages next week and the week after and this time next year, because it's going to evolve into that thing. But it's all about empowering the digital connected worker and the data that is collected for the business to make really truly data informed decisions.
Yeah, the fact that it is so simple to use and provides so much, I guess, visibility, for want of a better word, across the whole business, not just for those people on the shop floor using it, whether that's crawling inside a big machine like you were just describing, or doing a more mundane, shall we say, a more mundane task. But also, those at the very top of the business get to see real-time data and kind of real-time improvements on processes and things, which is really valuable.
And they get that instantaneously. That's the thing about it. I mean, we can, as I say, WorkfloPlus also plays very nicely with other programs. So if you've already got a Maximo or a SAP in, then we can take information out of that to put into the workflow process, but we also give it out as well. So it kind of like enables that, or even a simple thing like you can create within the process a zap that could say simply send Chris a notice to say that Keith has finished this. right? So it could be something very simple, but I need to know that that's been done, right? And so it really can, as I say, to me, it's all about empowering that end worker to be able to do more and more valuable, and the data it collects is infinitely valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly see it. It certainly sounds like it's of real value to manufacturers in particular. Keith, unfortunately, we've rapidly run out of time there, but thank you very much for this this fascinating introduction to Intoware and especially to WorkfloPlus and some of the benefits that can bring to manufacturers. We'll be putting some contact details up on the screen in a second. So if you did want to learn more about Intoware or get in touch with them directly, there'll be details there for you to do just that. But for now, thank you very much, Keith. Hopefully speak to you again soon. And thank you everybody for watching. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.